Good evening, and thank you for joining us. And welcome to the very first episode of Clearing the Air. My name is Will Walker, and I am your host for tonight. Tonight, we are going to gather amidst of a whirlwind of political discourse to provide a stage for transparency and truth. Thus, the name of the show, which is Clearing the Air. Our distinguished guests are hailing from different political walks, and they are joining us under a bright light of scrutiny to dispel the shadows that have been cast in controversy in this political climate. As we engage in a pivotal conversation, we invite you, our listeners, to join us in this journey toward getting clarity. So let's drive into the stories behind the headlines. And because tonight, the truth is, we're going to clear the air. Tonight, I want to go ahead and start to introduce my guests. I have Elena Sanders, the reigning commissioner, Elena Sanders, Mrs. Denise Williams, Mrs. Sheila Pounds, and Margaret Smith.
Hello.
Hello, ladies. Hello, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, so many smiling faces. Everybody is so bright tonight.
We are here. We are here.
Well, tonight, this is a highly anticipated show. Commissioner Sanders has been eagerly and patiently putting this show together to provide some political discourse to dispel some of the rumors, some of the things that may or may not have been said, and some facts that may or probably have been left out. So, we're going to have a sweet round table tonight of powerful, beautiful Black women that are going into the political arena that are going to make their statement. First, I want to start off by thanking everyone for joining me tonight, and thank you everyone for tuning in live on all of the stations that we are broadcasting to for our amazing commissioners, incumbent and otherwise. I want to start with Margaret. Hey,
Hi.
Margaret.
Hi.
Well, I want to start with you, Margaret, because I know that you are currently going to throw your hat into the running for tax commissioner this year. And
Yeah.
I am so, so, so excited for you. I really would love for you to tell me, in your own words, who you are, an elevator speech of about, pretty much who you are, a bit about you and why you're running for office.
Okay. Well, I am a Monticello, Jasper County native, but I moved to Newton County in 2010. And I have worked in several locations here in Covington. So I don't really know a lot of people, but I've worked, except the people that I worked with. So I worked in a call center that, where I've managed actually 45 agents at a time. So, I mean, I know a lot of people here. I worked at banking here at United Bank. I was there as well. But to give you kind of a little information about my background, I have over 20 years of customer service and management experience. I have, as I said, I've managed up to 45 agents at one time in a very high demand and high volume call centers. I don't know if you've ever had any experience with call centers, but it's like a beehive. And so, I feel like,
Unfortunately, I have.
yeah, so you understand. So I have experience there. And I also have 5 years of banking and finance experience. And that experience is what has actually made me decide to throw my hat into the ring as far as the tax commissioner. I am the account manager for the current tax commissioner now and have been for almost 3 years. And do you want me to kind of keep going on that, or is that enough introduction?
Well, tell us why now you decided to throw your hat in the ring to actually now not be in the background, but to go to the forefront to run for the actual the tax commissioner slot.
So the tax commissioner decided that he wanted to pursue his candidacy for chairman. And, since I've been working side by side with him for the last almost 3 years, I decided to put my hat in the ring because I am the one that actually makes the office run. And the reason why I say that is that I manage all the collections. So the millions of dollars that we take in, I'm the one that's managing the business accounts, and I'm the one that's actually doing the disbursements. I do all the state and local audits. I help manage the personnel on the inside of the office. So pretty much, Will, I feel like I've done all facets in this office that it's time for me to kind of take that seat now.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving us that overview. And it is good to know that you are currently working pretty much in that position, and you understand that position very, very well. I'm going to move on to our incumbent and sitting County Commissioner of District 3, Commissioner Elena Sanders. Please tell us, for the people who don't know who you are, and I don't know who those people could be. For the people who don't know who you are, give us a snippet of who you are, because there's so much to your bio. Give us a snippet of who you are, why you should be put back into office, and just the rundown of why Elena, Commissioner Sanders is the best woman for the job.
Hello. Those who don't know who I am Commissioner Elena Sanders. I am the incumbent. I'm the current commissioner for Newton County District 3 and running for office. And one of the reasons why I'm running for re-election, because there's still much to do. When you're in your first 4 years of your first term of any position or new in any position, whether it's elected or whether it's corporate or whatever, you're cleaning up from what happened or what did not occur. So within my first 4 years, I was listening to residents. I was listening to the people on things that they wanted to see done differently, the things that they saw lacking, the things that they didn't care about happening within their community. So when you are coming into office, you have to assess everything. Okay, we need to change this. We see there's mass building. We got to change that. We got to look at the acreage. We saw that we don't have any parks and recs. How are we going to get that? Where are we going to get the funding from? So when we're actually coming into this position in your first term, you're going to get certain things done, but it's a lot more to have to be done in the second term. Because like I said, in the first term, you're trying to assess the whole office and see what has been done previously that you need to change. And so I'm running because there's more work to do. I know that I'm in this position for a reason. As you know, I could be doing a lot of things out there, but I know I'm in this position for a reason. That's to make sure that I'm serving the people of Newton County and doing what's best for the county.
And that, from what I'm hearing on the streets, has been a job well done, but has not come without its set of controversy and an uphill battle of you trying to fight on behalf of the people while others are fighting on behalf of their own individual causes. But today, people, we're going to clear the air.
We're going to clear the air.
So since I already have you, Elena, I want you to I'm gonna deep dive quick. I'm just gonna jump right into it. I was gonna ask you something shallow, but why do that? Tell us about the Addison property and why this property owner withdrew.
I'm glad you asked that question. That was one of the things everybody's been talking about, because in a previous, I wouldn't say it's a formal, it was supposed to be a meet and greet. And at this meet and greet, each individual candidate and incumbent had the opportunity to speak. Of course, mine got cut off by some interruption. And normally in a meet and greet or a forum, normally the candidate goes first and the incumbent is at the end. But we kind of knew that this was a setup and a plan. I knew that walking in the door, but I didn't know it was going to be to that magnitude. So the candidate stated that myself and Commissioner Henderson, which is another commissioner, were the reason why this property was withdrawn from Newton County. That is false. Furthermore, let me correct that. When the original approach to donate this land to Newton County came about, I wasn't even in office then. I wasn't even a part of the equation. I never even met Mr. Addison. I don't even know what Mr. Addison looks like besides the email he sent to the county. I never had a conversation with Mr. Addison. So to say those false allegations, which is slanderous and defaming the character, to say that we were the reason why that property was withdrawn, it's false. Mr. Addison, when I spoke with the Parks and Rec director who was in the position at that time, he told me he was the one that conversed with Mr. Addison. Mr. Addison sat down with him. They had a whole plan on what they wanted. He wanted some type of reading literacy program within the home that he had on the property, and named the property after his mother. And so he agreed to all of the plans that were put in place by that Parks and Rec director that was in place at the time. And then later on, someone came and said they want to put a Boys and Girls Club on his property. He was not in agreement of that. That came directly from sources. He was not in agreement to that. And he also did not know that our Parks and Rec Commission, our Parks and Rec the Recreation Committee, I don't know the exact name of what we had, actual authority or whatever it was called, the commission, was going to be dissolved. And so at that particular time, it was so much going on, and he withdrew. That came from the Parks and Rec director on what happened, because he was the one that had a direct conversation with Parks and Rec, and with Mr. Adams, and came up with the plan. Then it came back up in 2021. And so the issue with that in 2022 was that they didn't speak to the people in the community. And so you have Trelawney subdivision, you have the HOA, and the people in the community is like, okay, what is being put behind our homes? See, we had an issue back in 2020 during the pandemic, when the previous commissioner approved or made a motion or approved to place a whole grocery store warehouse behind these homes that cost $400,000 to $500,000. And these people were not aware that this was going to occur. And so we did not want that to happen again. And so the people in Trelawney stood up and said, wait, where is our town hall to tell us what's going to happen? You never spoke to the commissioner of the district, which was Commissioner Henderson, and you never had a conversation with the person who the project was supposed to be for, which is District 3 Commissioner, the District 3 project from the 2017 block. So it's also in the paper. It's written in the paper on why he withdrew. I have a copy of the letter of why Mr. Addison withdrew. I've never spoken to Mr. Addison about this property. So the candidate, Ms. Lindsay, who made that comment, it is completely false and it's slanderous, because Commissioner Henderson, I did not even speak to Mr. Addison the second time. And Commissioner Henderson can tell you that we had no conversation with him. That was his decision to withdraw the property due to the controversy of the county not speaking to the people, telling them what's coming behind their property, as well as not even talking to the county commissioner whose district that you placed in this facility in. Nor did you speak to myself, Commissioner Sanders, who the youth facility project is supposed to be in their community. So he saw that written in the paper. He saw what was written. It was stated in his letter. I saw what was written in the paper. It's in his letter. And I don't want my property and my family name to be involved in controversy. So that statement made by Ms. Stephanie Lindsay is false.
Well, that's what we call clearing the air. Okay? And for all the people who are wondering, go ahead and process your disbursement. Now, Commissioner Sanders, I did have a question that came in from a commentary. I'm going to come back to you on that, but I do have a question for everyone. Margaret, can you tell us, why do you think that you're better than your other opponents or anyone that would come? I mean, what makes you better?
Well, I think, Will, that makes me better is the fact that I'm already in the office doing the job. I don't know how, anybody can compare to somebody that's already sitting there every day and has been for almost 3 years doing the job. And I just want to kind of give you an idea of why I'm so passionate about me being here and why I feel like I'm such a good fit. So let me just kind of give you a little backstory. So when the Marcus Jordan is the current tax commissioner, when he came to me, I was working at United Bank, and he was kind of new in the position, kind of struggling with how to manage, the funds, because the previous administration had just left the books, didn't close them out. Just when she lost, she just walked away. And so he had no idea what to do with these hundreds of thousands of dollars that were sitting in the bank accounts. And I was the business service manager at the time. So I managed all the business accounts that we held at United Bank. So I kind of came in when he came in, I kind of helped him get everything situated, get accounts in his name, take them out of hers, move her money to another bank so that it wouldn't be affiliated with the money that he has, to just kind of get everything separated and get him set up. So he told me that once he could get a position approved for an account manager, that he would come back and get me. So, time went by. It was almost a year. He said it got shut down from the commissioners the first time, but then they actually, voted on it and then he came and he got me from United Bank and I came to work. Now, when I got there, mind you, the Board of Education had not been paid out their disbursement for 2 months. Now, when I say about their disbursements, that means that the money that we collect from the citizens, we take that money and there's a specific portion, percentage that goes to the Board of Education, to the county, and to the different municipalities. So the Board of Education had not received their payment for 2 months. So they were wanting to get ready to sue the tax commissioner because they were having to pull their reserves. And once they delinquished their reserves, they needed a payout, So when I got there, I was actually the one that, and you will never hear about this because I'm behind the scenes working, but I'm the one that actually reconciled those accounts. I was actually able to pay the Board of Education their 2 months that they were behind. And going forward, I have my disbursements deadline is the 15th of every month. The county, which the current county chairman thanked me about getting their disbursements because they had a problem with that before. But I actually have them there on the 5th of every month, not the 15th, but the 5th of every month. And since I've been in this position, there has not been a payout that has not been correct. I have not had, this is with 0 errors.
So let me ask you this, Margaret, because I did you did hint at something that I did want to ask about. What is to a lot of people that may not understand, explain to us what is the recourse or what is the real issue with these disbursements missing their deadlines for the city? Like what happens when a city or a school or anyone that's missing disbursements? What happens when the deadline is missed and you go 2 months over? What is the situation there?
So they're not able to fulfill their financial obligations, and that means they're not able to pay their employees. They're not able to maintain their budget for the different operational things that they may have to do, and so it's really very bad if they go 2 months without it, because as I was saying before, they have to pull the Board of Education has reserves, but the different municipalities, they don't have a reserve, so they don't operate. Their employees don't get paid, so you know how that could be.
Okay,
Their
absolutely.
bills aren't paid, their lights aren't on. I mean, everything stops.
And that works on the accountability of the county, and it makes the school itself look bad. It makes the county as a whole look bad. And if you're behind the scenes, you're the person that's easy to blame. So therefore, you need to be in the front. So we have a phase 2 attached to that office, and I definitely think that you would make a great tax commissioner for that county. I did want to go over to Denise Williams, Mrs. Williams. I wanted to. I did not have a chance for you to introduce yourself. I know that you were taking a very, very important call. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more about you, what office you're running for, and why you are the best woman for the job. You're on mute. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Looks like we're having some difficulties. Can the producer, can you check Denise's mic for me? We're having some difficulties with getting her mic on there. Okay, you should be unmuted now, Denise. I can't hear you. Okay. Well, I'm gonna let the producer's checking the settings. I apologize, you all. What I'm gonna do, Denise, is I'm gonna let you go while the producer actually goes ahead and checks your settings. I want to go to Elena because I have a burning question for Commissioner Sanders from District 3.
Burning question. Oh, okay.
Well, you know, a question came through, and since we're clearing the air, let's clear the air. Now, there was a little bird came across and told me that there was some hearsay about you filing for bankruptcy,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and let's clear the air about that.
Let's clear the air. I'm glad you actually brought that up. There was some hearsay that I filed bankruptcy this year in my house that I lived in. I've never filed bankruptcy on this house that I live in. So I have no idea where that's coming from. But in my 20s, when I was 24 years old, I filed a Chapter 13. I bought my first house at 21. I was working for a technology company. And we know in the early 2000s, technology companies were laying off everybody left and right, especially here in Atlanta. And so, what I did to save my home, I filed a Chapter 13, not a Chapter 7 that we know that a well known elected official filed many of those Chapter 7s and never paid back their creditors. Okay. So, the difference between that, a Chapter 7 is you're not paying back your debt, you're wiping it out completely. I filed a Chapter 13 in my early 20s. I think I was like 24, 25 years old. I don't even know how they found that record because I can't find it. And so I filed a Chapter 13. I paid off all of my debt. I paid my last payment right after I had my daughter and moved here to Newton County. And so I didn't even respond to the comment at first, but I had a couple of residents who said, Commissioner, you need to respond to that because they're making it seem like it's a recent situation. And I said, I was 24, 25. I'm going on 47 years old. I was in my early 20s. So someone went in a back office somewhere in a judge's room or some file and had to find it because, you know, when dealing with bankruptcy, after 7 years, it's cleared out. Nobody can find that unless you actually go into some deep files. And that is like almost 20 years ago. And so with them bringing it up right now, that lets me know that they're trying to find something on me, which I'm honored because they let you know you can't find any criminal activity on me. You should be proud that your commissioner in her 20s wanted to pay back her debt versus wiping it out like some individuals that we know. So I paid all of my debt off. I am good. That was 20 plus years ago. My daughter is 19 years old. That was before she was even born. So let's clear the air and let that die and go away.
And FYI, because I like to clear the air behind clearing the air. In Georgia alone, there was more than 13,000 bankruptcies reported in 2022 alone. Okay.
Yep.
So let's stop putting a stigma on what bankruptcy represents because there are a lot of people in office currently and running for office again that have made a living off of bankruptcy. And they were not doing it because of a hardship, they were doing it to subvert debt. Okay. So let's just call a thing, and we're going to clear the air on that.
Clear the
Thank you
air.
for clearing that up, Commissioner Sanders. Do we have okay, we haven't got Denise sorted out. Margaret. Now, I do have a question for you, Margaret. I think a lot of people want to know, can the tax commissioner lower the taxes in their county? You're on mute, darling.
Okay. I get that question so often. You have no idea. If I had a penny for it, I'd be rich right now. So the tax commissioner does not have anything to do with what your taxes are. So the tax assessors, they set the fair market value, and then the board of commissioners vote on the mill rate. And the mill rate is what determines, you know, the percentage that you pay. So we are only collections. All we do is collect the money and disperse it out. That's
Okay, that's a good question because that did come through on the chat, and someone was asking me, um, in regards to can you lower the taxes? She can't lower the taxes, y'all. So y'all stop trying to hit a lick. She's
And
doing
well,
her
one
job.
thing I can do for them, though, I can make sure that they're getting all the exemptions that they need to probably lower their taxes. So there are some exemptions, homestead, that, for the elderly. There's one that's 65 and older. There's one for widows. And so, we, even though we don't do that in our office, but we do revert people to the tax assessor's office so that they can make sure that they have all the exemptions that they need.
Okay. Perfect. And that's a perfect answer, because a lot of people, that's a question that I've had pop up. I've seen that question pop up quite a bit, and I wanted that to be answered for people who are thinking that, oh, well, maybe if we elect her, then such and such and such, because people are
Right.
quick to put you in office and then blame
Yeah,
you for not doing something that you cannot do.
absolutely. Right.
Okay.
Thank
What's
you for
collected
clearing
is
the
what's
air on
collected.
that one. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we're going to continue to do that. We're still working on Denise, Mrs. Williams. We're going to have her on in just a moment, so you all please be patient with me. Elena, Commissioner Sanders, Commissioner Sanders. Now, a little birdie, it's so much going on in District 3 these days. Um, a, a little birdie told me that there was a little issue with some congestion in District 3 and how the residents are feeling away. There was a statement made by your opponent that you smudged the truth to your community. I would like you to shed some light on that, because that isn't quite what happened.
Thank you so much for asking that question to clear the air. Recently, we just had a situation to where I wouldn't say it's a situation, we had a zoning to where we were set the zoning that was going to be having townhomes placed in our district. Now,
Mhm.
people don't like to say the west side, the north side, the east side. It may sound kind of gangish, but that's how we kind of identify the various areas of Newton County. So in my district, I have a north District 3 and I have a west side of District 3. The west
Okay.
side of District 3 is the most congested part of Newton County ever. My district has the most homes. We pay the most property, I would say the most impact fees, because we are stacked on top of each other like sardines. Before we changed some things, there was where people can build 8 houses on 1 acre. And so recently, we just had on Crowell Road a rezoning to actually a land use map. Let me get that correct. A land use map to place townhomes. I think it was about 200 or 300 townhomes in that area. Okay. And so my residents, my neighbors, I live in that area. Our infrastructure is not done or completed. The issue is that the previous commissioner, and I'm not blaming someone, I'm giving facts. So I have to address the previous commissioner because she was in this position for 12 years. And a lot of this
Mhm.
happened under her leadership. So I want people to understand it's not a blame pointing the fingers, it's facts of what actually happened. So a lot of the homes were approved under her leadership. The subdivisions that were built were approved under her leadership. She was
Mhm.
commissioner when I bought my home. And so all of those things were approved under her leadership. Just on Fairview Road alone, there's almost 20 subdivisions. And so in my district alone, I have over 100 subdivisions. So my subdivision is one of the largest that has 922 units. That's including apartment complex inside of a subdivision with one way in, one way out. And so
Mm.
majority of your subdivisions have about 200 to 300 homes in those subdivisions. And so we are stacked on top of each other. Salem Road which is owned by the state of Georgia, GDOT. And so we have been waiting for years for Salem Road to be wide. We thought we was getting some relief when they started purchasing the easements on Salem Road and thought they was going to move forward in April. They were supposed to move forward in April this year. But unfortunately, it got pushed back because they haven't even done the RFP process to solidify a contractor to start the process. And I was also informed some of the properties are held up in court because some of the property owners are maybe contesting what they want to get for their property. And so we haven't even moved forward. And then we just acquired the contractor for Brown Bridge Road and Crawl Road. And so we have not completed the infrastructure, not also included on Jack Lindley Road, where we just started back doing the roundabout because we couldn't move forward with that because we had to wait for charter to move all the utilities. So if you don't have the infrastructure in place, all you're going to do is have congestion on top of congestion on top of congestion on top of congestion. The people are frustrated. It's very frustrating that you can actually see your house. You can get out of your car and walk, but because you're in traffic, it's going to take you 30 minutes to get home sitting there because you can't move. Now, the people who are complaining about this don't live in this congestion. Speaking to my opponent who made that comment, she used to live off Fairview Road. She did. She moved from Fairview Road. She stayed in Magnolia Gardens. I think I have that subdivision right. And moved to the northern side of District 3, where she was able to buy a bigger home and with more land. Nothing is wrong with that. But she recognized it was congestion on top of congestion. I have neighbors who have sold their homes because they didn't expect this amount of congestion when they purchased their homes. They were tired. So until we have the infrastructure in place, we should not be approving any more homes. We really need to go back into a moratorium on the western side. Now, the eastern side of Newton, those residents do have their concerns on building, but they have more land than we have. We have no more room. You know how they said, don't come to Atlanta because we're full. We're full. Don't come.
Y'all are full.
We're full.
Y'all are full.
Okay.
Every county.
We're full. And so we do have land on other parts of the district that could be built. We have land on other parts of the county that could be built out. Get the infrastructure right. We have people who are sitting on the interstate to get off of an exit because we don't have it all correct. We're now trying to get our access road together to widen the access road, to have more accesses to the access road. And you want to constantly keep putting houses. Not only that, certain parts of that area where they want to build has been known to flood. So we need to get all of our infrastructure together before we do that. Now, her issue was saying that we can get sued because the area is zoned for residential. Let me tell you what our county attorney said to me when I said the same thing on another property. And I didn't hear you speak on that property. You didn't say we're going to get sued on that one. So why are you saying that about District 3? And so the attorney said in a meeting, I said, we're going to get sued. It's just another lawsuit. We always get sued. And that's true. I attended conferences where elected officials have said, don't be afraid to get sued because you're going to get sued all the time. You have to do what is right. We go to court and we fight for what is right. We fought for against the Dollar General and we won. And so that should not be a scare tactic for an elected official doing the right thing for their community to make sure all the process in place. This property has not consulted the school system, has not spoke with law enforcement, has not done a traffic study. So all of those things are put in place that has not been done. And you want to add 300 more homes, including the homes that have not been fully built and rented yet. That's the problem.
Whew, that is a mouthful because that is an issue.
We'll speak on things and say certain things that sound good to people. But I'm saying to the residents of District 3 and Newton County, do your research. It's campaigning season is a time where everybody's going to preach to you to make it sound good to get their vote. I get it. It's marketing. I'm a marketing professor. I get it. It's marketing. But you have to do the research. And the problem I have is that things are being said, but we don't do debates to where the incumbent or the person in office can rebuttal to the conversation. We're doing these forums to where you're having the incumbent go first and the candidate go last, and then you end the session to where the truth cannot be told back and the evidence and receipts. And that same candidate stated that they don't believe in receipts because receipts can be false, but you're an attorney. So when you have evidence in the court of law, so you're saying the evidence is going to be false, how do you determine the case? You have to have evidence. Evidence is a receipt. So I'm going to provide that information for you. There's nothing that has not been done in this community to move forward with infrastructure. Let us get it fixed first. Let us get everything done before we decide to put more homes in a congested area where you used to live in.
That's a statement because it's the truth. Infrastructure first. Get it together, people. And this is why these conversations are so necessary. And it is so necessary to have someone in this seat that understands how to dissect these issues, find the common problem, and go and solve the problem first before you start piling more stuff on it. This is a plate that's overfilled. Everybody wants to eat, but don't nobody want to cook. And this is what the issue is going on with all these counties. I was a builder in Georgia for years. I understand this so intimately because the pockets get greased so quickly, projects get approved so quickly. So many people have friends of friends of friends who owe favors to friends of friends. Issues get subverted and stuff gets built that should have never been there in the beginning. And it is the job not of the people at the top. It's the county commissioners, it's the tax assessors, it's the council people on the lower levels that are making these decisions and fighting for your rights. These elections are just as important as who is sitting in the White House, as who is sitting in the Senate, as who is sitting at the governor, because these are the people that move the needle for you, where you start your car and park it. Those decisions are made by these people that we're talking to today. So these things have to be addressed. Speaking of addressing housing issues, Margaret, I did want to direct a question to you that came through in the chat.
Okay.
I did want to, and I quote, "What's up with these tax sales and delinquent taxes? And why haven't we had a tax sale in years?"
Well, to address
And I quote.
Okay, and to address that, we actually have had 2 tax sales since I've been in the tax commissioner's office. It was a lot because the previous administration had not done a tax sale in years. But as tax commissioner, we have a financial obligation to collect taxes. I mean, it's not fair that you as a homeowner pay your taxes every year, but we have certain people, and with money or without, that are back to 2019 behind in taxes. So the current tax commissioner, I do say that he did a very good job as far as implementing 2 tax sales so that we can get some of these collections because you got to remember, like we said before, these disbursements that we disperse out to the school and to the county and to the different municipalities, it's based on the money that we collect for the taxes. So it's important that we collect. So we've had those sales, and I think that we should continue to have those. But what I do plan on implementing once I become tax commissioner, because I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. But what I do plan on doing is having some town hall meetings where I can invite the citizens into our office where they can learn about the tax sale. Because a lot of people come and they think that, once the sale happens, that all they have to do is just come and pay the amount that they owe their taxes. No, at that point, it's an auction. And, I've had people at the tax sale that, owe $2,500, but their property sold for over $100,000, because there's investors that come to every tax sale just to obtain properties. So just, being able to educate the citizens on, how the tax sale works, just helping the ones that need to have like a budget on what's the best way to pay their taxes. Don't wait to the end, kind of break it up in increments over the months, just to give them all the tools that they need to make the best decisions as far as paying their taxes.
Okay, that's that's an enlightening moment, because a lot of people think that if they're behind on their taxes and they get called to the carpet, that they can just go and pay it. Well, you should have paid it already. So now you're in arrears. It's a bitter pill for a lot of people because you want to help people in the county, but then you also want to support the people that are doing right in the county.
Absolutely.
This is why this seat is so important. This is why this seat is so important, because you got to defend the people that are doing right.
Absolutely.
And you got to support the people as much as possible that are doing the best that they can. So
Absolutely.
accountability is a big thing. One thing that did come up in the chat when we were talking about, and I would love for you to address it because you're not in that seat yet. But what would you say to people who say that it's really hard getting people on the phone at your office?
Okay, that is a problem that we have had since I've been there. And to be honest with you, it's something that needs to be addressed. And when I take office, well, that's the first thing that I plan on addressing. I mean, I understand that customer service and all those things are also. Oh, I'm sorry, my connection.
Okay,
So can you hear me though? Okay. So
I'm
that's the
here.
first thing that I plan on addressing though is the phone lines. What just making citizens able to reach us by phone, by email, or in person, being very responsive. I do plan on looking into that first thing going because we do have lousy phone service there. And I did implement something though. I do want to say I did have the clerks go check the email because our voicemails go to an email service. So I had them going in, and we have a list that we generate with all the voicemails that we do receive. And I have each agent to have phone time for at least an hour out of the day. It's like 13 agents that we have right now. So they all take an hour and they go down and they return calls. And I mean, that it doesn't fix everything right now, but it actually helps us with response time a little bit better. So with that's something definitely I plan on working on.
Okay. Now, that is a good answer. That's something that I was really, really eager to hear from you all because I do believe that there's a customer service component that people need to be able to trust that their issues will be handled in a timely manner. Not just that the issues are being seen, but they're being heard also. So thank you for that. That is great information. Um, I'm going to move on to Mrs. Williams. Mrs. Williams, are you in the house?
I'm here.
Hi, Mrs. Williams. Thank you. I'm so glad to see
Hi, can you
you.
hear me?
Yes, I'm so glad to hear you. Now, a lot of people do not know, Ms. She was attending to some very, very important business. So we were trying to get her on, and then we couldn't. We were having some difficulties. If you're just now joining us, this is Mrs. Denise Williams. Denise, if you can, in your own words, just tell everyone who you are, a bit about yourself, and the office that you're actually running for.
I'm Denise Williams. I've been living in Covington, Georgia for approximately 22 years. In the last 10 years, I've been very active in my community, being a community activist, helping people with different issues like people that was living in low income housing that had live on a fixed income. They was facing eviction. I fought to not get for them not to get evicted. I worked with maybe 30 to 40 of the seniors during this season when they did the ARPA funds, helping them do their paperwork, to make sure that they could get the $30,000 allocation. So I've been very on hands-on in the community for the last 10 to 15 years, serving. I know basically everyone in Newton County. And the seat that I'm running for is the Board of Commissioners District 1 seat.
Okay. Now that is an introduction, and I love that. I am so glad that you are actually in the running. And there's the flyer. Screenshot it for everybody who's looking. Screenshot it. We need you going out and voting for this amazing woman who is actually doing some grassroots work. Because it's a work to deal with people face to face and dealing with people and being able to literally touch people that are having real issues and solving their issues in real time. Now, you do know that since I'm just now getting you, I have to bombard you with a few questions. The real question that I think is on my mind is what made you want to throw your hat into the ring for office right now, especially in a position that's currently held by a Republican?
Well, just about everybody in the community know that I'm very vocal. I go to the BOC meetings. I speak in citizen comment. Um, Very vocal. And so the reason why I threw my name on the ballot is because I said it defeats the purpose to go up there and fight them, and then they walk back into the seat unopposed. So you have to shake them up to make them realize, hey, we over here, we do exist. Like on the western side of the county where I live, we have no representation over here. And we just want the
And
same thing on, no, we want the same thing that the east side of the community get. Because the west side of the county will pay the mass majority of the taxes.
okay, and that's what I was gonna allude to. Tell them why it's so important. And you did allude to the fact that you're paying the majority of the taxes. And for the people that don't understand why that's important, please elaborate on that for me.
It's very important because, like I said, the western part of the county pay the mass bulk of the taxes, but we don't get the amenities that the east side of the county has. Like I live on Highway 162. We don't have a park over here. If we go to the park, we got to go to Denny Dodds Park or we got to go to Turner Lake Park, which that is 10, 15 minutes either way. So if we paying mass majority of the taxes, why our roads are not paved? Why did you come in my community 4 years ago and pave half of a road that I live on and the rest of the roads haven't been paved? But when I get on social media, I see that the people on the east side say, oh, we don't have no problem with our roads getting paid. Our roads get paid every 3 years.
Well, let me ask you this. Tell me two things that once put into office, installed into office, because we're going to will it into fruition here. Once installed into office, tell me two things that you're going to actively pursue immediately that are things that you know that you've got to touch immediately.
Well, immediately I will I will work directly with the Board of Commissioners to put a procurement department in place. And the second thing is to bring our policies up to date. All our policies are outdated, and we need to bring them up to 2024. So those are the main two things that I would do immediately.
Now, to people that don't understand what procurement is, elaborate on that for me.
A procurement department is the department that any contractors that's bidding, putting an RFP out on a job, they would go through the procurement department, and the accurate and the correct thing and the professional thing to do is to score everyone that applies for that RFP. So the person that scores the highest on that RFP, that is the person that should be awarded the job. And that's not what awarded the bid, and that's not what's happening now. We don't have a procurement department at all now. So basically, we have our finance director that works alongside with the young lady in the vendor department, and they decide who gets the contract. So basically, if it's who they know is gonna get the contract.
We definitely have to clear the air on that. Speaking of who they know, I want to slide over to Commissioner Sanders because I do have a question that came up earlier, but I didn't address it. I wanted to skip to the end.
Yeah, I'm looking in this
Producer, you
chat
can.
too. I'm reading the questions.
Yes, because I do want to ask this question. Speaking of that, and speaking of people and underrepresentation and not understanding what all of this stuff is about, what are your thoughts on the current Board of Commissioners wanting to remove citizen comments from the agenda?
That is a hot topic, and you threw that one on me. I'm going to say this. I am not for removing citizen comments. I am for the voice of the people, and it should be heard, whether it's for me or against me. For those who have been paying attention to the Board of Commissioners meeting, I have people who attack me. I have people who say things for the past 3.5 years. Not once have you heard myself say, let's remove citizens' comments when someone is coming at me. Commissioner Henderson's our longest serving commissioner on the board. I believe 27 years. If I missed some years or gave a little bit more, excuse me, Commissioner Henderson. You've never heard Commissioner Henderson say remove citizens' comments, and they did a whole complete forensic audit on this man, and it came back clean. I mean, just tore his name to pieces. So you never heard him say, let's get rid of citizens' comments. I watch other board of commissioners in other counties, and I've heard citizens say certain things, commissioners, and what they do is sit there professionally and they respond back when it's time, or they talk to that person after the meeting. And so to say that you want to suppress the residents of Newton County's voice because someone said something to you that you didn't like at that moment and say, let's get rid of all of citizen comments, that's, to me, that's ludicrous. To me, I don't think it's something we should be doing, because it has been a part of Newton County's makeup before I was even thinking about running for commissioner. And then I also heard another commissioner say that they were the one who added on the second citizens comments. So we have citizens comments in the beginning on agenda items, and we have citizen comments at the end on all. And then there was a commissioner who said, well, I just want to get to one. Well, you're only giving them 3 minutes to speak. It's not some counties giving them 4 and 5 minutes. You only give them 3 minutes to speak. So if you have the order and decorum that's supposed to be set by leadership, then we shouldn't have any issues. That's the whole point. I would never be a part of silencing those who are taxpayers in Newton County. Although we as commissioners don't make the salary, we don't make the salary like the chair, we don't make the 6 figures to full figures, and the county manager. Although we don't make that amount, but our salaries are still being paid by the taxpayers. So you're telling the taxpayers who are paying the salaries that we need you to shut up. We need you to be quiet. Not only that, if it wasn't for the taxpayers, we wouldn't even have a budget in the county. We wouldn't have a general fund. We wouldn't even be able to build these buildings. We wouldn't be able to have law enforcement and get these cars and pay for these various things, or pay for the things that we have in the county, and make sure we have the public service department, public works department, and all these individuals, the HR department. They would have no salary if people in Newton County were not paying taxes. So I would never, as commissioner in District 3, as long as God allows me to sit in this seat, even if I'm not in this seat now, the things that I know what's happening, I will still remain vocal. You will not shut me up. So I would never, ever be a part of any agenda to suppress the voice of our constituents. And what happened was some commissioners didn't like what certain constituents stated. And as one resident stated, how many times have people come to meetings and say elected officials are stealing money? I think every elected official probably have been accused of stealing. I've been accused of stealing money, and everybody knows I'm very transparent, haven't touched a dime. And so I get accused of she's spending money. She's traveling on, and we're gonna talk about that too. I want to make sure I clear the air on that. She's traveling on the county's dime. She's doing this, she's doing that. I get accused of a lot of things, but you never heard me say, shut down our emails, block all the constituents from our emails, or shut down citizens' comments. That has never occurred.
And you are very, very vocal and very direct when these comments happen. Now, I do want to ask Mrs. Williams, since she's just now joining us, I want to ask you, Denise, how have you been coping with all this negative backlash that you're getting from sharing information about what the citizens are going through? Because I know it's hard to be on the front and telling the real story, because no one wants to hear what's really happening in the community. They just want to run to get in and out.
Well, it has been a lot of backlash. Hold on one second, Will. Okay, I'm back. It has been a lot of backlash, and a lot of people seem to think that Commissioner Sanders have us asking these questions and coming up there. But before Commissioner Sanders ever came into play, I was very vocal. I was attending the meetings. I was asking the 12 questions. And I have always said the only way they will ever shut me up is they're going to have to kill me. I'll be dead. That's the only way I'm going to shut up. I'm going to remain vocal, and I'm going to remain transparent with the citizens. And I'm going to be honest and real and tell them the truth. And of course, in Newton County, they don't like to hear the truth. When you tell the truth, they're going to create a fake narrative.
And that narrative is what?
Well, of course, if If we're telling it, if I'm telling the truth and I'm putting the information out there to the citizens and to the so they can know the truth, they're gonna flip it to make it seem like I'm the problem. We are the problem. Like right now, is what's going on the board now. They're saying that we didn't have these problems before Commissioner Sanders came. Everybody got along. Everybody can work together. Everybody can work together now. They just refusing to work with her because they want to make it look like she didn't get anything accomplished. But I be at every meeting. I be at the budget hearings, and I'm well aware of what's going on in the community. This is a power grab. The reason why these people names are on the ballot. It's not a power grab for me. I just want to do the work. And not only am I saying that the commissioner doesn't work for me, it's people across the party lines are saying that he's not working for them either. So it's just not me.
Well, speaking of trying to silence the community, we're not going to be doing that on this podcast. So I am reading the comments. Someone in my box has asked me, how much did the forensic audit cost the taxpayers of your county?
Commissioner Sanders, can you speak on that? I want to say it was over 300,000.
The forensic audit that they did on Commissioner J.C. Henderson cost the taxpayers $300,000. And so it came back, and I'm pretty sure you all have heard Commissioner Henderson talk about this all the time. It came back that they only found that they were missing 2 rolls of toilet paper and some broccoli. And that's the truth. It sounds like this has been made up, but it is the truth, because you could tell it really hurts Commissioner Henderson that they did this to him, because he speaks on it a lot. And I feel for him, because you just threw this man's name in the mud, because I don't know what you know. That's called a political diversion. For those who don't know, you do political diversions so people are focused on one thing and they're not focused on what's really happening. Okay. And so they did a huge political diversion, and they put that diversion all on Commissioner Henderson. And so you spent $300,000 of taxpayers' dollars for it to come back with 2 rolls of toilet paper and some broccoli. Do you know what we could have gotten for $300,000? Do you know how many we could have built something for the homeless? We could have fed the kids. We could have put a program in place. We could have, during that time when it happened, land was cheap. We could have built a half of a building for $300,000. We got homes that are cost, some not homes that were bought before the pandemic that they paid $300,000 for here in the state of Georgia. That are some nice big homes. There's so much we could have done with $300,000, but you felt to waste that amount of money on a forensic audit, a fake forensic audit that came back. And I think the issue that affected Commissioner Henderson, he was asking for the results for almost 4 years. He didn't get the results of that forensic audit until I came on board. And then the county attorney had to announce in the meeting, and he still didn't get the physical copy in his hand. That's the crazy part. The county attorney in 2021, when I came in office, because I'm just learning all this, I'm like, what happened? What? 300,000? She announced we found nothing. And finding out that they knew back then that they didn't find anything. But you left this narrative of someone stealing money and messing up their livelihood and their character and slander, and people coming at them over and over, and you just held on to it so people can call this person a thief. And now that narrative's in everybody's mind. He stole money, he did this, and even though he was cleared, it's still in people's mind thinking that this person stole money. And that's what people do in the political world. They put narratives out there, and because they know constituents are not going to do the research, because they know, I'm going to say it again, constituents are not going to do the research. You're going to believe every narrative that's put out there. That's why you always hear me say, I got receipts. I'm going to provide, I'm the receipt keeper. I'm going to provide the receipt. And so you as citizens, residents of Newton County, taxpayers, there's something called open records. And there is policies and procedures and laws that are put in place dealing with open records that it has to get to you by a certain time, and the county cannot refuse to give it to you, or any government entity cannot refuse to give it to you. Do the work, do your civic duty, and get the open records and read it for yourself. It's kind of like when you go to church and you hear the pastor say, yeah, I'm giving you the word, but you got to go home and know it for yourself. I could be telling you anything until you read it for yourself. You have to know the word for yourself. It's the exact same thing. You and somebody's giving you something, stop believing everything they tell you if they don't have no receipts. And stop believing people saying, I don't need receipts because receipts can be fake. If they're coming from the government body, there is nothing fake about that receipt.
Well, I don't like the word they. I think that they should have a name. Who spearheaded the audit?
The Board of Commissioners did. The commissioners that was before my time. I wasn't even on the board then. So I want to say it was 2018 or 2016. So whoever was on that board at that time voted, I think 4-1, because Commissioner Henderson is not going to vote against himself. So the Board of Commissioners that was prior my time did that forensic audit and spent $300,000 of the taxpayers' dollars to do a false audit on someone to divert your attention is from what they were actually doing. I don't know what they were doing at the time. I heard, I'm not going to state it until I have the facts in my hand, but to divert it for some particular reason. And I was informed Commissioner Henderson wouldn't go along with it. And that was the issue. And so that happens in politics. You've seen it on the federal level, state level, and local level. Political diversion. Look it up. It'll tell you what it is. You create a narrative to get your mind off of what they're actually doing, and your attention is right here. They do it all the time in the media. Something will happen. They want your attention right here, and something's happening in the government that they don't want you to pay attention to. You have to pay attention, my neighbors. You have to do your own research, my neighbors. Stop believing what people are telling you and ask them for the facts. Tell them, provide you with the actual details. Give you the facts. Stop letting people tell you this stuff. Like I heard some people said that people are going around saying the tax commissioner raised your taxes. The tax commissioner does not raise your taxes. The tax commissioner can only collect taxes. But you know who can't raise your taxes? The Board of Commissioners. Your city council. We set the millage rate. The only thing the tax commissioner does is collect the taxes. And you know who assesses your property? That's the tax assessor. So your taxes went up because your property, your value of your home went up. That's why your taxes went up. The millage rate, the Newton County commissioners rolled back the millage rate. It went back to 11 points. So your houses are worth a lot. Your investors are buying up all these properties, increasing your value. We had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry. When I talk about government, I'm gonna give you all the details. I love knowledge and I love research. That's what I do for a living. I'm gonna give you the facts. We're gonna clear the air.
Well, speaking of accountability, I'm glad that you led me in that direction. Ms. Williams, soon to be District 1 Commissioner. I did have a little birdie. Thank you. Go ahead. Actually, you can, producer, if you don't mind, if you can put Margaret on the screen also. I would love to have a facial reaction to this. Now, a little birdie, I won't say who, it was a little birdie, my little secret bird, said that the chairman's personal attorney, Stephanie Lindsay, had a copy of this audit and wanted Commissioner Henderson to come to her office so she could sue the county. Anybody want to talk about that?
According to Commissioner Henderson, that is correct. He had been asking for a copy of the forensic audit for years, and they would never give it to him. For whatever reason, they wouldn't give it to him. So one day, the chairman pulled up at Commissioner Henderson's house and said, "Hey, you need to go down there to Stephanie Lynn's office because they found something on that audit, and you need to go see her." And so I guess they did that, thinking that he would hop up and jump up and go down there in rage or being fearful that they found something. But he said he wasn't gonna go because if the FBI found anything on him, they would have came and knocked at his front door, and so he wouldn't go. And so about 3-4 days later, that's when he found out the real reason that she wanted him to come down there because she was trying to persuade him to sue the county, and he said he would never do that. Even though they were wrong, he said he wouldn't do it.
Okay. Well, I do want to, since I have Margaret on the screen, I do want to address something with Margaret about. There's been a lot of throwing around that you have some opponents that have 20 years of experience, and maybe they're probably better than you because they have experience in driver services and they've been in this office for so long. Can you differentiate for the people that don't understand the difference between a blanket experience and a specialized experience?
Yes, it is very important that people understand that, you know, you can have 100 degrees, you can be working in driver services for over 20 years, and you can be in the office over 20 years. But if you're not there actually managing the funds that are coming into that office, all the collections, I mean, I'm talking about, will I disperse millions of dollars monthly? That's just like, if I can't go be a school teacher, I could have a degree in finance, but I can't go be a school teacher. I mean, it has to be relative experience. So, you know, I respect all of the education that my opponents may have, or the tenure that they've had in a specific position. As a clerk, that doesn't give you management experience. I mean, I need people to understand that, you know, it's just not, it's not relative. I mean, you know, you have to know finance, you have to know accounting. The most money that we receive for our disbursement comes from, we do collect from motor vehicles as well, but it comes from property. None of my opponents have property experience. None of my opponents have finance experience. You know, so I say, you know, yeah, I don't have the master's degrees, and I don't have those, but I do have work experience. And the main important thing that I want people to kind of understand, I've been doing this for almost 3 years with 0 errors.
Mm-hmm. And that is accountability on a different level. And to give an analogy so people will understand where this actually lays in the scheme of things. If you drive a Bentley and she's giving out Bentley level money every month and auditing Bentley level money, do you go to a mechanic that has been working on Hondas for 20 years because he's been working on Hondas for 20 years? Or do you go to a Bentley mechanic that's been working on only Bentleys for 1 year?
I like that.
Okay. See, you go to the person that specializes in the job that you need to get done. And these subjects that we're talking about are so valid because the people that are on the ground, like Ms. Williams, like Commissioner Sanders, like Margaret Smith, who is in the office doing the duties that she's doing the job that she's applying for. Only thing she needs is the title and the recognition and the seat so that she can take accountability for the things that are being done wrong. Denise is doing the same thing. Commissioner Sanders is petitioning to say, I want to continue forward with the job I've already started. These are the people that need to be occupying these seats, not people who are going to do what is in the best interest of themselves. These are public service positions. They are to serve the public, even if it does not align with your personal values, how you feel, and it doesn't profit you.
Absolutely.
I wanted to make that blanket statement with all of you on the line because it is so important that a lot of people didn't know that Sheila's not on. I was hoping that Sheila would be able to join us. That a lot of you are the first African American woman to ever attain or hold this seat. I think that applies to all three of you. Am I incorrect?
That's correct.
And Commissioner Sanders, you being second term, you were the first African American woman to get into that seat, and you'll be the second one to get into second term. So we're going to go ahead and speak that in too. I do want to ask everyone if I can go around as we begin to conclude and come a little bit closer to the end. I do want to ask everyone, starting with Denise, tell me or tell the audience, everyone that is listening, why your applied experience makes you the perfect person to hold this seat, and why getting you into that seat can turn that county around, because that is what everyone wants to know.
Right. Like I stated before, I'm already active in the community. I'm very aware of what's going on with the BOC because I attend all the meetings. And also, it would be important to put me in that seat so that every district in Newton County can thrive. Not just District 1, not just District 2, not just District 5, but all 5 districts need to strive in the county. And it's a shame to see that where the mass building and development is going on, that they have nothing there. That's not fair to anybody that sits in the seat. And I don't have a personal agenda. I just want to see the whole entire county thrive, all 5 districts.
Okay. And Margaret?
Well, I repeat the question again. I'm sorry. I kind of
Well,
zoned out. I got so into Denise's response. I'm so sorry.
well, we know that you have the direct implied knowledge of your seat. You understand what's going out, what's coming in, and you are doing it with your hands every day. You're not coming into this position as someone that's saying, I can do a good job. You're saying, I'm doing a good job. I'm
Exactly.
doing it with 0 errors. I'm doing it on the mark without errors, and you're adding to your agenda. So if you would just speak to the fact that, hey, endorse me for what reason?
Because if I'm asking everyone to endorse me, because as you said, I do have the experience. I have been there doing the work. I see the concerns of the citizens because I'm there every day. I don't have to be trained because I'm doing it every day. I don't, it will set the county back and the municipalities, the school back if they have to bring someone new in to learn our operations. I'm already doing it. So it's a seamless transition. I mean, I would just continue to do what I'm doing, and like you said, just receiving the recognition and being able to be held accountable for everything that goes on in that office.
Thank you so much, Margaret. And in the vein of continuing to do what needs to be done, I'm going to ask Commissioner Sanders to tell them why this second term is going to be even more elaborate than the first term.
You said elaborate. Okay.
It's got to be elaborate. It's got to be elaborate, you see.
Okay. Speaking to my neighbors, you have seen the work, you've seen the drive, you've seen the fight that I have for you. It comes from my heart. It doesn't come from political reasons. It comes from that I care about the community where I live. I care about the people that live in this community, and I care what happens to the community. That's all of District 3. There was always a narrative that's put out there that Commissioner Sanders only cares about the west side and not the north side and the east side. That is false. I care about all of District 3. If anyone in my community, as well as Newton County, call upon me to work for them, I answer the call. I get calls from residents who don't even live in my district, and I answer that call. I get calls from no matter part of Newton County, and I answer that call. In my first 4 years as commissioner, I was trying to make sure that those things that you want in place are put in place. And that's one reason why I applied for a $4 million grant, because we didn't have enough money for our youth. And I made sure that we acquired those funds. It is important that we have those things in place for our community. We have to move forward as a community, as one. I have been told that I have awoken a county, and I'm glad of that commentary. I'm glad of people stating that, because now you are more informed on what's happening in the place where you live. As Will stated, and I state all the time, your local government is your most important government. We determine where you live. We determine your taxes. We determine how things are going to happen. We determine what businesses come. As you can see, we determine how many houses are going to be built. We determine if your road is going to be paved. All those things, permits. It is important that you have the right person in office that cares for you and does not have any political initiatives behind it. It is important that you have someone that cares for you, that doesn't have a problem standing up and fighting and going against the grain of what everybody else is going. I don't have a problem sitting on an island by myself. I don't have a problem sitting in the area by myself as long as I'm doing what's right for the community. If it's just God and me, I'm happy with that, because it's important that I know I'm going to have a place in heaven because I'm doing the right thing by God's people. I am not going to be encouraged. I'm not going to be forced by anybody telling me what needs to be done, but what is supposed to be done right by the people. I'm not going to be scared of lawsuits that come my way, because I've had people try to send lawsuits my way to shut me up. And I'm still going to talk. I'm going to speak on what's right for the people, no matter what. This commissioner is going to fight for you, continue to fight for you. It is my ordained duty. It's a reason why I'm put in place here in Newton County. As I stated, I have many talents and gifts that God have given me. I could be doing a whole lot of more things, but I chose to be a part of Newton County's government. And I'm glad you selected me to be a part of Newton County's government. As I've always stated, that you are our boss. You are our boss. You are the ones who we are supposed to be answering to and representing. It's not the other way around. So we are the ones who are supposed to be accountable for your tax dollars that are being spent. We are the ones supposed to be held accountable for the choices we make and the votes that we make that can affect or not affect our communities. So that's why I'm asking for another term, because there's a lot that has to be done in District 3, and you need a person who has a heart for people and not a heart for political gain.
I know that's right. So thank you so much, ladies, for giving me an overview, giving the community an overview of what you all do. If anyone has been watching for more than even 20 minutes, you understand how much of a cohesive unit and collective these women are together. The city and the state are divided into districts and streets and counties and all of that stuff, but those are street blocks away. Your kids all play together. You all are sharing the same McDonald's. You're walking on the same sidewalks. District 1 is only 2 blocks away from 2, and 2 blocks away from 3, and 2 blocks away from 4. And you all are just there together. If this cohesiveness is necessary, that everyone has a common vision, and these ladies have that common vision, and they are willing and eager to work together so that everyone moves forward together, not just themselves. So we ask that everyone definitely in the comment section, we're going to make sure that we put where everyone can be followed, where you can support their campaigns, where you can support them online, follow them online. Please catch all of their lives. Now, I did have one thing, because the comments are blowing up, and our producer is popping some stuff
trying
on
to
the
read
screen.
them. I'm looking at them.
Let me tell you, the producer is trying to be messy with me. But see, so since the producer's gonna want to push me, I'm gonna go, because I'll go. There's been something, speaking of people in office, that may or may not should be there. There was a situation that happened in council where someone was accused of possibly calling someone a homosexual. And the commissioners were blamed when it wasn't said by them, because no one called that person a homosexual. No one implied that that person was a homosexual. I'm just saying, if it smells like chicken, it might be chicken. If it smells like fish, it might be fish. If it's wet, it might be water. But when anyone is offended by something, it is an internal thing that has nothing to do with anyone else. So I would just, if anyone wants to comment on it, it was not my intention to call anyone or insinuate that anyone, I can't remember, Deacon or what was his name?
Are you talking about Commissioner Mason, Demond Mason?
Commissioner Mason. I only remember people that are actually doing stuff for their county. So Yeah, it's hard to remember those names. But if anyone was offended by what you thought was an insinuation, I was not insinuating that you were gay. Um, Even though people came into the comments and said they thought that, that's their opinion. You know, I'm gay, so I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. And if that's who you are, then great. And if that's not who you are, then great. And yeah, there's that.
And just to clear,
And
just to clear the air on that, because people probably saying what's happening at the last. That's actually why one of the reasons why they wanted to get rid of citizen comments, because one of the residents was trying to clear the air, was basically saying, because I received from my constituents who said, well, this commissioner is telling, this is why this commissioner is upset with you because of this. And they showed me a text message from that commissioner that said that I called them gay. I've never called Commissioner Mason, if you're listening, I never called you gay. If you go watch the video, it never came out of my mouth. And matter of fact, I'm glad you're here, Will, and you brought it up. I never stated that, nor did Will even say it. I even said, let's move on to something else. And you said, you gave a disclaimer and said the words that are coming from Will Walker are coming from Will Walker and not Commissioner Sanders. And so
thank you, producer.
it just spiraled all out of control from that conversation because there was a lot of people that was watching. It was a narrative that people wanted to put out there that Commissioner Sanders called one of her colleagues out of their gender. And so I never stated, it never came out of my mouth. And that's what that resident was basically trying to say. I watched that podcast. She never said that. And when to see some of my constituents show me text messages that were directly sent to them from one of my colleagues saying that I said that, I am appalled. I'm disappointed because I don't text your constituents saying anything in regards to that nature. You cannot find a text in my county phone or any phone that I have text someone in regards to that. So I just wanted to clear that air, because if that is a reason why they're upset with me, it never happened. Nor did I say it, nor did Will say, did you actually watch the video? So if he stated, it never was stated. So that narrative needs to die. It needs to clear the air. That was one of the reasons why, and it was mentioned on Fox 5 and Channel 11, because one of the constituents, it's on Fox 5, Channel 11. They came to the meeting last week because they said that one of the residents came and said some comments and basically was trying to clear the air. Commissioner Sanders never called you gay. She never said anything of that nature. I have family members who are of the LBGT. I'm sorry, I don't know all the acronyms.
Me either.
I don't know. I love them to death. I would not even do that in that magnitude. So I never stated that. And then I thought it was down and dirty for you to go to my family. This is about you and I. And for you to even go low to say, look at your family members, I just thought that was just the lowest of the low. And that people probably saw me when you talk. One thing I believe in any position, family is off limits. Children are off limits. Husband and wives are off limits. Now you and I we can go back and forth because we're in this position together. But I'm not going to stoop low to go to your family, your children, or your wife, or anything to that nature. I have never said anything about any commissioner's wife or their children. Now, if we're in a board meeting and we're talking about issues, I will discuss them all day, but I will not go that low to say, what about your family? I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. I love children too much. I would not even talk about kids, no matter how bad your kids may be or whatever. I don't know, but I would never talk about your children or your spouse. I'm not going to do that.
Well, and let me say this, and I will address this directly to you, Desmond Mason. Okay, let me address something directly to you, because you can feel free to inbox me. You don't have to talk to Commissioner Sanders, because if I said it, I said what I said. Okay, and if you felt that way, you felt what you felt, and you can feel free to inbox me, because my name and my information will be on the bottom. But let me tell you something about real men. Okay. Real men do not address women on feminine issues. Gossip is a feminine issue. I don't address or go back and forth with women. To the credit of my producer, I want to say this because the producer just put something in that's a very, very valid point. LGBT people in Georgia make up a bigger portion of the community in that state alone than 80% of the other states. It is the Black gay capital of the United States, okay? So when you say that you are being insulted by someone insinuating that you may be gay, being gay is not a derogatory thing. Being gay is not a negative thing because your neighbors are possibly gay. Your neighbors have children that go to school with your children. There are lesbian couples and gay couples that are in your community. These are voters. These are people that you would want to support you because you're not just making laws for people like you. You're also making laws for gay people and their children and lesbians and their children and LGBTQIA plus 007, that whole community. You're making laws that affect everyone. Everyone's paying taxes. Everyone is doing their part, okay? So if there's a problem, address the person who said it. Don't address other people who are there to do their jobs. As we close, I just want to rehash the fact that this is not about personal vendettas. This is not about how anyone feels about anyone else. And I will say this on the things, views expressed by the guest, including myself, do not imply or are endorsed by Clear the Air or its affiliates, or any of the county commissioners. Anything I say, I said what I said, okay? No one implied anything. But if the shoe fits, tie it up. And if it don't, leave it. But don't attack other people that you have close proximity to because you cannot attack a real man. Whoa. Okay, so that's what we're gonna leave that there. Thank you so much to everyone that has joined us. It has been a pleasure for me to sit down with this distinguished panel of very qualified Black women that are running for office. I'm going to drop all of the information of all of these amazing women so you can follow them, support them, follow their campaign, rally behind them, because your city is going to be in the hands of someone, and it better be someone you can trust. Amen. We're going to let you go. Thanks for calling. Thanks for everyone being here, and I hope
Thank you for having me.
Cleared the air.